So, you know, you can see just looking around social media, for instance, a lot of nihilism, right? A lot of sort of self-absorption and a focus on building oneself up before you can give anything to anybody else, right? So how does that play into this idea of what the black man is in 2021, right? Are we taking the time to grow into the fullness of what we can be before inflicting ourselves on a black woman or a black man, whoever you're interested in, right? Or are we growing together realistically with partners, with friends in those relationships? Or the thing that we see a lot in social media, we just ain't shit until we are shit, and then we're still shit. You know, so how are we doing with the way we, in you guys' estimation, right? The way we're impacting the people around us.
I've been in that one.
Yeah.
Well, for your 3 levels, we'll start with the he ain't shit part. Like,
It's a beautiful scale.
yes. So, you know, early on in college, like I was literally the he ain't shit. So, yeah. Thanks for the cosign. But you know, I graduated in either 9 or 10, I can't remember so far. And I moved to DC. I had to move to DC in order to be by myself, to grow emotionally and mentally. So that took from 2010 to about 13, just working on me, working on relationship with my father, working on the relationship with the passing of my mother. I had to do some self-searching, some self-healing, and I didn't get professional help until 2 relationships ago, to where I can speak to a therapist just about how, more specifically, that relationship and those issues played a part. So, you know, it's to your point, it's different levels that you're gonna have to hit and go through. So I grew from the he ain't shit, I went to the I'm working on myself, and now I'm at the stage to where it's where me and my fiance, we've worked through a lot of things together. So, and just going back on one of Brandon's points, as far as our household, like it's not quote unquote gender roles. If the clothes are dirty, go wash the clothes.
Right.
If there's dishes in the sink, Ravi, wash the dishes. Yesterday, my fiance, she does makeup, so she had to travel, and we're doing potty training. I can't sit there and say, oh, I'm gonna just put a diaper on my daughter, change the diaper all day. You do the potty training when you get home. No, I potty train. So the role of being a black man has different parts to it, to where the stereotype of what it used to be has to change, and you have to change it to apply to your situation or your relationship. Be it that you're man, female, however you need to do it, that just make it work. So
It's fluid.
it definitely
There's fluidity in being a black man in 2021, and I think that movement started, you know, somewhere in the early 2000s, to where you're just kind of able to step into who you are as a black man, and you create the narrative for what works for you.
And the key thing is you have to decide when you want to do that. We have to start breaking, I think we're starting to break generational curses. In my family,
Careful.
Well, I'm going to say it. One of my brothers told me, he's not married, he's never been married. He told me we was all together to celebrate my father's 70th. My father, transparency, everybody who knows my father knows, from Orangeburg knows my father. It's 11 of us. So I have a set of twins, different mamas. We're all close, all grew up. So my brother that's not married,
Wait,
don't do the math.
You said it's a set of twins that got different mamas.
They're not a set, they're twins. We call them ghetto twins. I have my
okay.
sister
I was about to say,
and my brother. They
now
have different mamas, but they're born on the same day. And they're 6 minutes apart. My sister's 6 minutes older. But my brother came to me and we was like, man, when you getting married? You know, all your brothers, you know, we've been married with. And his answer is, I've seen you all go through a divorce. Why would I get married and go through what y'all are going through? And I've been divorced. This is my second marriage. This is my wife's second marriage. And before we got married, we both said, we're not going to do the things that we did in the previous marriage. And we laid them out. This is what I did wrong. This is what and I'm on the ain't-ish. I already said my cuss word with my God shirt on, so let me get out. I already been through the ain't-ish phase in my first marriage. I was a horrible husband. Horrible. And I went through a phase where I blamed that on the fact that I never saw that. I never saw a husband in the household. My mom and dad were married. They got divorced when I was 5, so I never got to see that. One of my uncles was married, but he stayed away. He was in the military, so I never saw the example. My other uncle, we weren't as close. So I never saw what it was to be a man or to be a husband. And my first wife, unfortunately, who I had my son with, got the brunt of that immaturity. But I had to go through that. Once we got divorced and she said, I'm done, I'm not dealing with this no more. God told her, let him go, I got work for him to do. That's when I woke up. And I said, well, if I'm gonna get married again, I have to be a better husband. My wife, I get her flowers every week. Never did that before. She likes to brag on that. Like you said, it's like if the work needs to be done, get done. I mean, our first marriage, I said, look, I take care of all the housework, I cook, clean, all that. No, I clean up and do all that. You just make sure I eat every day. Now it's everything is shared. So I think it's a mentality of you deciding as a black man, when you're ready to make that move and become a better man.
Sorry, I was just taking a note, the flowers thing. Anyway.
I give my wife flowers. She told me she liked flowers. So I start listening. And so every week she gets fresh flowers. Now, no, they don't come from no florist bouquet. No, she knows. She knows this. She knows all this. And she tells people. I tell my sons this. I just go to the store. I get her a dozen roses. When she comes home from work, they're sitting in the vase, ready for her. And she walks in. It's to the point now she'll walk by sometimes and not notice because she knows they're there. And she'll come back to me and say, oh yeah, babe, thanks for the flowers. Move on. Yeah. It's just, she told me, if you start something, don't stop because I'm going to get used to it. And so every week she gets fresh new flowers when she comes in. House is clean because I'm home now because of the pandemic. The house is clean. We take turns cooking. Sometimes she'll call me and she'll be like, oh, rough day today, da 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 da. She come home, food already cooked. It's just things, mentality that I decided as this time as a husband, things that I was going to do that I didn't do. Yeah. My ex-wife would be like, oh, I'm having a rough day at work. So what's for dinner? Whew.
That's tough right there.
So it's growth, it's maturity. As you deciding as a man, you're going to break the generational curse. You're going to be a better man for your kids. Like I said, I have 2 sons watching me now and a daughter. So
I want to jump into something that we've kind of been touching on throughout the conversation, which is the idea of black family, right? Nobody here is over 50 years old, right? Growing up, we've had a lot of different, I won't say a lot, but we've had some pretty great, honestly, examples of black families in a variety of different ways, to turn to in media, whether it was, the Winslows, whether it was the Cosbys, whether it was Huxtables, whether it was, what you got in Fresh Prince. I mean, even if you just look at Martin, right, just getting to see a relationship happening between 2 adult black people. We've had a lot of different examples to sort of turn to get our ideas of what a healthy, sometimes maybe slightly less than healthy Moesha, but getting the idea of what a healthy black family could look like, right? I knew a ton of people who wanted their house to be just like what you saw on the Cosby Show, right? But when we come to 2021, I guess the question is, what is the model of the black family? Where do we look to? Where do we turn to see sort of an example, right, of what we would want to model our own families after?
I mean, I don't think we have, the Cosbys it's come from someone that doesn't watch much TV, but I think the model of where I would want my family to look up to is like, Obama, the Obamas. I feel like they set the tone for a black household, especially like Michelle and the kids. And obviously Obama is Obama, but definitely, Michelle and the kids held it down. You didn't see their kids getting in any trouble. The girls weren't getting pregnant. Just like little things that we do see that's common in the black community. We didn't really see that with the Obama. So I think that would be mine. Like I said, I don't watch TV, so it's kind of hard for me to say.
It's hard to point to that because a lot of, if you're just talking about perspective of television and trying to see it from that perspective, television now is more so focused on how society is right now.
More reality.
Yeah, it's more reality TV. It's interracial families. It's same-sex marriages now. You see more commercials. So we don't have that stereotypical family to model ourselves after, to look at and be like, hey, that's who we want to be like. Like you said, President Obama and the Obamas. That's who we're holding our regards to now. That's that standard now that we are holding everything to. I don't personally see anything on TV, because all you see, like you say, is reality TV.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't want my family. I mean, T.I. and Tiny. I mean, that's the closest thing.
I'm good.
Oh, no disrespect, Tip. But
Hit you with a big word.
yeah. Most expeditiously, I'll be down there. Most expeditiously, I'll be down there to love you to see you, sir. But all we have is reality TV, and it's based again on social media. That's where everything is focused right now. So it's up to us to model out. We have to make our own
Right. And
examples.
to that point, like for me, like I said, with my family, it's biracial.
Mhm.
So I don't have a show I can go watch to see how I need to speak to my daughter about being Puerto Rican.
Mhm.
So for us, and to Chris's point, like we have to set that standard. We have to be that show. We have to be that representation of what black families look like, how they represent when they're outside of their home. So, just trying to, while we're, like I said, me and my fiance, while we're trying to raise our daughter, we have to blend cultures. Like she has to know where she comes from as far as my family. She has to know where she comes from as far as her mother's side. So, just us creating that representation and that standard and that new black mold of this is what family looks like.
Mhm.
I think you brought something up in one of our first and second segments about what people see versus what's really going on,
Mhm.
and I think that's a very valid point. I can't really say I model my life or household after anybody simply because what people show you may be what's going on in public. At home, hopefully not, but at home, he may be beating her behind or she may be beating his behind.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard
to.
it's hard to say, you want to model yourself after somebody because you only see what they show you. And anybody can pretend to be happy. I'm pretty sure we've all done it at some point. Pretend to be happy when you're really not. So I just think that to piggyback off of something we talked about earlier, the black household is what you make it. It's what you make your household, how you run your household. You have different rules for your household that I have for mine. Right? And Robbie has for his, and Crystal has for his. Everybody has different rules. But what I believe in my heart is that everybody here in this room, when it comes to that household, their goal and the point of focus is making sure that everybody in that household is healthy, everybody's happy, everybody is either fulfilled or on a path to fulfillment. So I think that is the model. That's the model that I want to follow and that I want anybody that I'm teaching to follow. Hey, make sure everybody in your household is healthy. Make sure they do your best to try to make them happy. And then that is where you'll find success. There isn't any concrete list that you can work off of as far as creating that.
Yes, and it's important, right? It's always important to define your own path, right? To seek out your own fulfillment and the sort of the greater good of your family unit, right? But there's a reason why J. Cole said, "Rest in peace, Uncle Phil," right? Media is aspirational, right? While it may not lay the foundation for exactly who you're going to be, often we look to media to give us something to look up to, right? Something to aspire to, right? It's not necessarily that you wanted to parent like Bill Cosby, right? But it wouldn't be terrible if there was a black male doctor in the house with a big house, right? With all the resources and stuff, I think the point of being able to point to shows like the Cosbys or the Cosby Show or like Family Matters or, we have Blackish now, for instance,
I forgot about Blackish.
yeah, I mean, you know,
Do you really like Blackish?
I do.
It wasn't bad at first.
No, it had to grow on me. The first few weren't good. I haven't watched it in a while, but it grew.
I never said I liked it. I want to get that out
There's
there.
too many inches now. Now they mixed dish and grownish. I like grownish.
I mean, they
It's
changed
coming
it
out
up
with
with
Odish.
Yeah.
Black as fuck. I'm sorry, Black AF.
I did like that.
Yeah, I did. But you know, that's just to say, having those examples out there, it does two things, right? For those who don't have role models but are seeking one, it gives you an easily accessible one, right? Two, and one thing that we sort of are reticent to admit is just, you know, we kind of have to rely, we're sort of forced to rely on media's depictions of blackness for other cultures to understand us, right? To have some sort of image of us. Unfortunately, right? Highly unfortunate. However, it's the truth, right? And so, you know, if the model out there is going to be Real Housewives of Atlanta versus Blackish, right? I'm gonna take Blackish, you know? But it raises the question of, is that something that we should seek to have out in sort of public consciousness and general discourse, right? For instance, we're creating media right now, right? Should we be seeking to put those depictions out there of what blackness can be, what the black family can be? Or, you know, is it better for everybody to seek and discover their own path?
Media, journalism, as far as media is that concerned, social media, it's forcing us to be more accountable and be more responsible for our own family. Pretty much what we've been saying. We now have to step up and stop saying, oh, I want to model myself after the Cosby Show or Family Matters. We have to now step up, because like you said, there's I don't see any positive examples on television that I want to model my family after. So now it's all about what, now you have to step up and say, okay, I see what I don't want, so now I have to do the opposite. I don't want my daughter growing up to be on Real Housewives of Atlanta or whatever, throwing glasses, scratching and popping and twerking and doing over there. I don't want my son belittling, downgrading women from that perspective. So it's like, how do you want to fashion your household now? It's now your responsibility to step up and stop. You know, nope, you don't have that model you used to have that I had growing up. And even though we had the Cosby Show when I was growing up, my mom and dad and them didn't model after that. So it's all about how you want to raise, like you said, pretty much how you want to raise your family, the rules in your house.
Yeah, yeah. I think it is easy and fine to say, as full-fledged adult males, right, that we're going to blaze our own path as heads of household, right, if we happen to be the head of the household. But there's also keeping in mind that while as a parent you want to be the one who instills all lessons on your children, you won't be. It's not possible, right? And so, you know, they're going to look somewhere, they're going to watch something that's going to teach them some piece, impart some piece of themselves on them, right? Whether it's, you know, watching CSI and seeing there's a black forensic scientist on there and I want to be like that guy, right? Even though he turned out to be a drug addict in real life. Not the point. The show showed you what a black man could potentially be, right? So, you know, I think that leads into the second piece of this, which is just, you know, so we don't really see it now. I mean, again, there are, you know, the small sort of group of examples of things like Blackish, but I don't want to be like Dre. You know, but, you know, it raises the question of how do we go about sort of restoring not necessarily the model of the black family, but examples of healthy black living, right? Healthy black familial living.
One of the points you made earlier about being 1% better today, implement that, like B said, in your family. Your family can be 1% better today. I know as far as raising and learning and teaching my daughter, just like academics and whatnot, I'm not as consistent as I should be, but my fiance is. So that can be the 1% that I work on today to make sure that she's being educated on whatever she needs to as far as her development at the age of 2. So, you know, just searching to be better within the family unit versus just individually.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I almost look at kind of tying back into the last question too. You know, it is important to have the Black Panthers, you know, the movie, obviously, to have that movie and to have these role models within media because, like you said, whether we like it or not, you know, the youth is being influenced by media at an all-time high. So I feel like that's why even conversations like this are so important because everything's important. So just how you had the rappers talking about WAP, the song I still haven't heard, or whatever it may be, whether it's positive or negative, it's important because it is making a difference. So I think that that's something that we have to consider, you know, while we create, is that this is influencing people, whether you want to believe it or not. So, I mean, I think again, I mean, I hear everything that you are saying as far as blazing your own path, but I don't want to ignore the fact that we do need more of that in our community. We do need to bring back the Cosbys. You know, we do need to bring back these different things in the media because, again, the youth is attached to it. You know, it's all they know. You know, they have their phones in their hands all day, and they're being influenced by whatever's on their phone. So, again, I know I kind of deviated a little bit, but I just wanted to jump back into that point really quickly as far as it is important, you know, that we are conscious on what we're putting out here in the world as far as Black creators, you know, because, again, it does make a difference.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. Well said. Well said. All right. So with that being said, the model of the Black family in media is ostensibly dead. However, you can be that, right, in your own circles, right? Whether it's just talking about what you've done with your family, for your family on social media, or talking with your friends or your family, or just letting people see, right, the positivity that moves through your life. All right, if you could give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice,
Baby,
don't do it.
baby.
What would it be? So you know, we can maybe start with Marquise because that's like what, like last week or something like that.
Hold on, let me ask a question. Just one piece or multiple pieces?
Tell your 20-year-old self what your 20-year-old self needs to hear.
Okay, good.
Let's do that.
Because it's like 3 bullet points. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marquis.
I mean, at 26, I would say, you know, just drive slow, homie. Just drive slow.
Yeah.
Just drive. And it's funny how, you know, it can be taken however you want to take it. Whether it is you actually being in the car driving slower, you know, or just in relationships and maturing and understanding, you know, just breathe, take your time, and again, just drive slow. Like, you don't have to move so fast. So I think that's what I would tell myself, 6 years ago?
6 months. Now I feel like there's a lot happening right here. In this right here. So Nayla, let's start with you because it sounds like you got 3 bullet points already outlined, right? You got your dissertation.
Man. 20-year-old, so now I'm 36, so I'm talking 16 years. Wow. So the first thing is, don't follow up no woman. Don't follow up no woman. Don't do it.
I know this story.
Don't follow up no woman. Do what you do for you.
Yeah.
And for your betterment. Don't follow them. That's first. Secondly, don't be intentional about your credit.
Yes, that's what I
Be intentional about take your credit seriously. Don't you go to no other state and get a whole bunch of credit cards that you can't afford to pay off. When them people approach you, just say, I'm good.
You don't need that.
Because it's going to take you years to get out of that debt.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I would just, say what Marquis said. Just take your time. Take your time and don't rush to be somebody that you're not. Because that day will come when you have to make a decision about who you are. Don't force yourself to be anybody that you're not. That's it.
Okay. All right. There's a whole lot in the that's it, but all right.
We don't have enough time for that.
All right. Ravi or Chris, either one of y'all want to take it next?
He took my credit one. That's the first thing
Yeah.
I tell myself.
Yeah.
24 years ago, almost.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know you said 16. 24 years ago. In college, they were on the corners.
Credit card
Yeah,
people?
credit card people at the
All
table.
the
See,
time.
they don't do that now
Yeah.
at the colleges. I don't do that. I
Yeah,
don't know.
they do.
They still be at the
Mhm.
hand out them free gadgets.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, that's the first thing I was like. Don't do it. When I say don't do it, don't sign it. Just take the thing off the table and put somebody else's name on
Damn.
Right.
it. That's what I would told myself.
Put your roommate name on there. And then that's it.
Exactly. Pay your taxes. That's what I would tell.
Pay your pay your taxes.
Pay your taxes, please. Don't claim 9 and just to get more on your first check. But yeah,
Don't claim nobody else's kids.
exactly. I would have told my 20-year-old self to probably stick it out in the military. I did serve. I got out after 4 years, and now I have all my friends already get their 20 years. They're good, and I think I would have. And watch your mouth.
Mm.
Watch what you say and how you act, because I was a little reckless
Mm.
when I was 20.
A
I
little,
didn't
from
care
the,
what-
time, from the way you portray yourself, it was a whole lot more than a little
I
reckless.
was, yeah. Pre-dip was pre-dip Chris was not yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Enough said. Yeah. All right. All right. What you got for it?
Definitely the credit piece. Definitely be smart about that. Definitely use someone else's information. A creative person, don't steal.
Yeah, don't steal nobody's identity. Don't
Should we
steal
clear that up?
nobody's identity.
No.
Please.
But seriously, I would tell me at that age to take time to actually heal. My mom had passed when I was 15 or 16. So, I never, at that time, it was just like jump into sports, everything will be okay. So, that's why relationship-wise, a lot of stuff was just do what you want to do. If it ends, it ends. Life ends anyway. So I had a different mentality on making relationships work because of the finality of life. So I would tell a 20-year-old me, heal, process, and don't be angry at your father. So those are the things that I would tell. Now, would he listen?
That's a whole different
Yeah.
show.
But I would definitely tell me to take time to do those 3 things.
Okay. All right.
Well, can I add one thing?
Yeah.
I think I would say, kind of hearing the wisdom, I would also include, to do what you want to do. Again, I'm still young. I mean, I'm very close to the question of age, but I would say do what you want to do and not what your parents want you to do. And I know it's easier said than done, but I feel like we've all kind of had the influence in some shape or way, whether it's your grandparents, your parents, but really take that time to focus on what you want to do. I think that's kind of around the time, about 16 to maybe 21, maybe 16 to 18. But I think that's the time when you don't know what you want to do, but people are telling you what to do. So you think you want to do something. And then you do it typically. And luckily for me, about 23, I realized, well, damn, I've been doing this whole time. That's not what I want to do.
Right.
So that's kind of what I would, again, say to my 20-year-old self is, just do what you want to do, bro. People will adapt. They will get used to it. Just focus on, your passion.
Yeah.